Hi, boys and girls. We are here to read chapter 18. We are going to dive right in, but as I'm reading, as always, remember to think about your characters. Also, today, I want you to think about a story mountain and how a story mountain starts with finding out about the characters, going up to the rising action, to the climax, down to the falling action, and then eventually the resolution. So keep those parts in your mind also today as I read chapter 18. When we got to Gloria Dump's, I told her I had two surprises for her and asked which one she want first, the small one or the big one. The small one, she said, Gloria. I handed her a litmus lozenge and she moved around with her hands feeling it. Candy? She said. Yes, ma'am. I told her it's called the litmus lozenge. Oh, Lord, yes. I remember these candies. My daddy used to eat them. She unwrapped the litmus lozenge and put it in her mouth and nodded her head. Do you like it? I asked. Mm-hmm. She nodded her head slowly. It tastes sweet, but it also tastes like people leaving. You mean sad? I asked. Does it taste like sorrow to you? That's right, she said. It tastes sorrowful, but sweet. Now, what's surprise number two? A book, I said. A book? Uh-huh, I said. I'm going to read it out loud to you. It's called Gone with the Wind. Miss Franny says it's a great book. It's about the Civil War. Do you know all about the Civil War? I heard it mentioned a time or two, said Gloria, nodding her head and sucking on her litmus lozenge. It's going to take us a long time to read this book, I told her. There are 1,037 pages. Woo-hee, said Gloria. She leaned back in her chair and crossed her legs on her stomach. We best get started then. And so I read the first chapter of Gone with the Wind out loud to Gloria Dump. I read it loud enough to keep her ghosts away, and Gloria listened to it good. And when I was done, she said it was the best surprise she ever had, and she couldn't wait to hear chapter 2. That night, I gave the preacher his litmus lozenge right before he kissed me goodnight. What's this? He asked. It's some candy that Miss Franny's great-grandfather invented. It's called a litmus lozenge. The preacher unwrapped it and put it in his mouth, and after a minute he started rubbing his nose and nodding his head. Do you like it? I asked him. It has a peculiar flavor. Root beer, I said. Something else. Strawberry. That too. But there's still something else. It's odd. I could see the preacher getting further and further away. He was hunching up his shoulders and lowering his chin and getting ready to pull his head inside his shell. It almost tastes a little melancholy, he said. Melancholy? What's that? Sad, said the preacher. He rubbed his nose some more. It makes me think of your mother. When Dixie sniffed at the candy wrapper in the preacher's hand. It tastes sad, he said and sighed. It must be a bad batch. No, I told him. I sat up in bed. That's the way it's supposed to taste. Litmus came back from the war and his whole family was dead. His daddy died fighting and his mama and sisters died from the disease. The Yankees burned down his house. And Litmus was sad, very sad. And what he wanted more than anything in the world was something sweet. So he built a candy factory and made the litmus lozenges, and he put all the sad feelings he was feeling into the candy. My goodness, said the preacher, when Dixie snuffed the candy wrapper out of the preacher's hand and started chewing on it. Give me that, I said to Winn Dixie, but he wouldn't give it up. I had to reach inside his mouth and pull it out. You can't eat candy wrappers, I told him. The preacher cleared his throat. I thought he was going to say something important, maybe tell me another thing that he remembered about my mama. But what he said was, Opal, I had a talk with Mrs. Dewberry the other day. She said that Stevie says that you called him a bald-headed baby. It's true, I said. I did. But he calls Gloria Dump a witch all the time, and he calls Otis dumb. And Once he even said that his mama said I shouldn't spend all my time with old ladies. That's what he said. I think you should apologize, said the preacher. Me? I said. Yes, he said. You. You tell Stevie you're sorry if you said anything that hurts his feelings. I'm sure he just wants to be your friend. I don't think so, I told him. I don't think he wants to be my friend. Some people have a strange way of going about making friends, he said. So you apologize. Yes, sir, I said. Then I remembered Carson. Daddy, I said, do you know anything about Amanda Wilkinson? What kind of thing? Do you know something about her and somebody named Carson? Carson was her brother. He drowned last year. He's dead? Yes, said the preacher. His family is still suffering a great deal. How old was he? 5, said the preacher. He was only 5 years old. Daddy, I said, how could you not tell me about something like that? Other people's tragedies should be the subject of idle conversation. There's no reason for me to tell you. It's just that I needed to know, I said, because it helps explain Amanda. No wonder she's pinch-nosed. What's that? Said the preacher. Nothing. Good night, Indiana Opal, the preacher said. He leaned over and kissed me, and I smelled the root beer and the strawberry and the sadness all mixed together in one breath. He patted Winn-Dixie on the head and got up and turned off the light and closed the door. I didn't go to sleep right away. I lay there and thought about life and how the litmus lozenge, how sweet and sad were all mixed up together, and how hard it was to separate them out. It was confusing. Daddy! I shouted. After a minute, he opened the door and raised his eyebrows at me. What was that word you said to me? The word that meant sad? Melancholy, he said. Melancholy, I repeated. I liked the way it sounded, like there was music hidden somewhere inside it. Good night now, the preacher said. Good night, I told him back. I got up out of bed and unwrapped the litmus lozenge and sucked on it hard and thought about my mama leaving. That was a melancholy feeling. And then I thought about Amanda and Carson. And that made me feel melancholy too. Poor Amanda and poor Carson. He was the same age as Sweetie Pie, but he would never get his 6th birthday party. Wow, what another great chapter because of Winn-Dixie. So today for your assignment for your Flipgrid is I want you to think about this. Characters are always facing problems, sometimes multiple problems in, of course, a chapter book. And those characters have reactions to those problems. I want you to think about one problem that Opal has faced in this entire book. It could be from this chapter, it could be from the past. And I want you to tell me, what is that problem and how does Opal react to that problem? What does she do when faced with that problem? So I'm looking forward to seeing your Flipgrids and your thoughts. Have a great day, and I'll see you for the next read aloud. Bye.